The first thing that crossed my mind with Stokely is, he has so much power and passion and fire inside of him. And he understood what his job was very early. And he understood why, even though the things he was saying were in direct opposition to the philosophy of Dr. King, he understood that Dr. King was still important. He understood the compassion. What struck me, though, is interesting that from his vantage point, nonviolence and passive resistance was a non-option. It wasn't an option at all. Now in 2010, you can see how, King and all of them who were influenced by Gandhi, how it did work, The passive resistance of the bus boycott, it did work. But it would have never worked without people like Stokely Carmichael on the other side of it. They studied the passive resistance. He studied power and what power meant. He was the first one to really talk about black power. But that's exactly what was missing from the equation, the power. And he was powerful just from the speaking. And he wasn't even like the Panthers. The Panthers were very influenced by him. But it's not like he was in the street with some guns,
A few words about Martin Luther King's non-violence movement.
I think Dr. King is a great man, full of compassion. He is full of mercy, and he's very patient. He is a man who could accept the uncivilized behavior of white Americans, their unceasing taunts, and still have in his heart forgiveness. Unfortunately, I am from a younger generation. I am not as patient as Dr. King, nor am I as merciful as Dr. King. And their unwillingness to deal with someone like Dr. King just means they have to deal with this young generation.
Thank you so much.
Guevaras tal i Alger 65. Sackdorp från Vietnam och rasisttribunalen. Per Anders och Robbie Blackburn om bakgrunden till Debré-rättegången.
Let's see, I think Stokely was a sophomore in college when he went down to Mississippi. I sat by the phone, by the radio all day, trying to hear what happened. And when I heard they picked up 4 of them, I knew one was Stokely. I think I died 1,000 times. It was the first time he had been to jail. Every time he goes, I die 1,000 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You want me to do the interview for you?
Yeah, would you really?
Lovely.
Hey, we got one thing, though. You gotta hold this one there, right?
Mrs. Carmichael, when you came to the United States with your children, where did you live?
We lived at Stebbins Avenue for a while.
What kind of neighborhood was it?
It was kind of a mixed neighborhood, but a little on the rundown side.
What do you mean by the rundown side?
Streets were dirty, garbage pails all thrown around and not covered and things like that.
How big was the place you lived in?
We had a 3-room apartment there.
And how many people lived there?
When my kids moved to the United States, we were still living there, my husband and I, so that made 5 children, because I had 2 there. The 5 that came with their aunt, my husband and I.
How many is that altogether?
5 and 3, 8.
How in life in general for your children? Could they do other things most children in the United States could do? Did they have enough money to do those things?
No, we didn't.
Why didn't they?
Because my husband didn't make enough money.
Why didn't he make enough money?
He was a carpenter, and he worked 2 weeks in, 4 weeks off. He drive taxi cab part of the time.
But there were other carpenters who lived better than your husband.
Of course.
Why didn't your husband?
Because he was laid off. He was always the first to be laid off.
Why was he always the first to be laid off?
Because he was Negro. He always said because he was a colored man, because naturally in Trinidad we use the word colored. We never use the word Negro. So he always said because he was a colored man.
Thank you.